Mazeppa. That was after dread Poltava day, when fortune left the royal suite. Around and slaughtered army lay, no more to combat and to bleed. The power and glory of the war, faceless as their vain votaries men, had passed to the triumphant Tzar, and Moscow's walls were safe again. Until a day more dark and drear, and a more memorable year, should give to slaughter and to shame a mightier host and haughtier name. A great wreck, a deeper fall, a shock to one, a thunderbolt to all. Such was the hazard of the day. The wounded Charles was tough to fly. By day and night through field and flood, stand with his own and subject blood. For thousands felt that flight to aid, and not a voice was heard to brave ambition in his humbled horror, when truth had enough to dread from power. His horse was slain, and Geta gave his own, and died the Russian slave. These two things after many a league of well-sustained but vain fatigue. And in the depths of forest darkling, the watchfires in the distance sparkling, the beacons of surrounding foes, a king must lay his limbs at length. Are these the laurels and repose for which the nations strained their strength? They laid him by a savage tree, in outworn nature's agony. His wounds were stiff, his limbs were stark. The heavy hair was chill and dark. The fever in his blood forbade a transient slumber's fitful aid, and thus it was, but yet through all, king-like the monarch bore his fall, and made in this extreme of ill his pangs the vassals of his will. All silent and subdued were they, as once the nations round him lay. 3. A band of chiefs, alas how few, since but the fleeting of a day, had seen it, but this wreck was true, and chivalrous upon the clay. Each sat him down, all sad and mute, beside his monarch and his steed. For danger levels man and brute, and all are fellows in their need. Among the rest Mazeppa made his pillow in an old oak's shade, himself as rough and scarce less old, the Ukrainian Hetman calm and bold. But first outspent with his long course, the Cossack prince rubbed down his horse, and made for him a leafy bed, and smoothed his fetlocks and his mane, and slackened his girths, and stripped his rein, enjoyed to see how well he fed. For until now he had the dread his wearied courser might refuse to browse beneath the midnight dews. But he was hardly as his lord, and little cared for bed and board, but spirited and docile too, whatever was to be done would do. Shaggy and swift and strong of limb, all Tartar like he carried him, obeyed his voice and came at call, and knew him in the midst of all. So thou thousands were around at night, without a star pursued her flight. That steed from sunset until dawn his chief would follow like a fawn. This done, Mazeppa spread his cloak and laid his lance beneath his oak. Felt if his arms in order good, the long day's march had well withstood. If still the powder filled the pen, and flints unloosened kept their lock. His sabres hilt and scabbard felt, and whether they had chased his belt, and next the venerable man from out his heifer's rack and can prepared and spread his slender stock, and to the monarch and his men the whole of portion offered them, with far less of inquietude than carters and banquet wood. And Charles of this his slender share with smiles partook a moment there, to force of cheer and greater show, and seem above both want and woe. And then he said of all our band, thou firm of heart and strong of hand, in skirmish march of forage none can less have said or more have done than thee, Mazeppa, on the earth, so fit a pair had never burst, since Alexander's days till now, as thy Bucephalus and Zoo, all Scythia fame, to time should yield, for pricking over foot and field. Mazeppa answered, I will betide the school wherein I learned to write. Quoth Charles, old hetman, wherefore so, since thou hast learned the art so well? Mazeppa said, 'twere long to tell, and we have many a league to go, with every now and then a blow, and 10 to 1 at least the foe, before our steeds may graze at ease, beyond the swift Borisfence, and there your limbs have need of rest, and I will be the sentinel of this your troop. But I request, said Sweden's monarch, thou wilt tell this tale of thine, and I may reap perchance from this boon of sleep, for at this moment from my eyes the hope of present slumber flies. Well, sir, with such a hope I will track my 70 years of memory back. I think that was in my 20th spring. Aye, it was when Casimir was king. John Casimir, I was his page. 6 summers in my earlier age. A learned monarch face was he, and most unlike your majesty. He made no wars and did not gain new realms to lose them back again. And, save debates in Warsaw died, he reigned in most unseemly quiet. Not that he had no cares to vex, he loved the muses and the sex, and sometimes this so forward are, they made him wish himself a war. But soon, his wrath being over, he took another mysterious or new book. And then he gave prodigious fetes. All Warsaw gathered round his gates, to gaze upon his splendid court, and dames and chief of princely port. He was the Polish Solomon, so sung his poets all but one, who being unpensioned made a satyr, and boasted that he could not flatter. It was a cart of jest and mimes, where every courtier tried rhymes. Even I for once produced some verses, and signed my oaths despairing tierces. There was a certain Palatine, a count of fair and high descent, rich as salt of silver mine. And he was proud, ye may divine, as if from heaven he had been sent. He had such wealth in blood and ore, as few could march beneath the throne. And he would gaze upon his store, and over his pedigree would pore. Until by some confusion led, which almost looked like want of head, he thought their merits were his own. His wife was not of his opinion. His junior she by 30 years, grew daily tired of his dominion, and after wishes, hopes, and fears, to virtue a few farewell tears, a restless dream or two, some glances, at worship use some songs and dances, awaited but the usual chances, those happy accidents which rendered the coldest dames so very tender, to deck her count with titles given, 'tis said, as passports into heaven. But strange to say, they rarely boast of this who have deserved them most. Of vassal or of king's degree could vie in vanities with me, for I had strange youth, gaiety, a port not like to this ye see, but smooth as all is now, for time and care plucked my very soul from out of my brow, and thus I should be disavowed by all my kind and kin. Could they compare my day and yesterday? This change was wrought too long ere age had taken my features for his page. With years, ye know, have not declined my straight, my courage or my mind. Or at the scar I should not be telling old tales beneath a tree, with starless skies my canopy. But let me on, Teresa's form, methinks it glides before me now. Between me and yon chestnut's bough, the memory is so quick and warm, and yet I found no words to tell the shape of her I loved so well. The Asiatic eye, such as our Turkish neighborhood, mingled with our Polish blood, dark as above us in the sky. But through it stole a tender light, like the first moonrise at midnight, large, dark, and swimming in the stream, which seemed to melt to its own beam. All love, half languor, and half fire, like sands that at the stake expire, and lift their raptured looks on high, as though it were a joy to die. A brow like a midsummer's lake, transparent with the sun therein, when waves no murmur dare to make, and heaven beholds her face within. A cheek and lip, but why proceed? I loved her then, I love her still, and such as I am love indeed, in fierce extremes, in good and ill. But still we love even in our rage, and counted to our very age, with the vain shadow of the past, as is Mazeppa to the last. 6. We met, we gazed, I saw and sighed. She did not speak, and yet replied. There are 10,000 tones and signs we hear and see, but none defines. Involuntary sparks of thought, which strike from out the hair's overthroat, and form a strange intelligence, alike mysterious and intense, which links the burning chain and binds, without their will, young hearts and minds, conveying as the electric wire, we know not how, the absorbing fire. I saw, I sighed, in silence wept, and still a reluctant distance kept, until I was made known to her, and we might then and there confer without suspicion. Then, even then, I longed and was resolved to speak. But on my lips they died again, the accents tremulous and weak, until 1 hour there is a game, a frivolous and foolish play, wherewith we while away the day. It is, I have forgot the name, and we do this, it seems, were set by some strange chance which I forget. I reckon not if I won or lost, it was enough for me to be so near to hear and ought to see. The being whom I loved the most, I watched her as sentinel. May ours this dark night watch as well. Until I saw, and thus it was, that she was pensive, not perceived. Her occupation nor was grief, nor glad to lose or gain, but still played on for hours, as if her will yet bound her to the place. Thou not that hers might be the winning lot. Then through my brain the thought did pass, even as a flash of lightning there, that there was something in the air which would not doom me to despair. And on the thought my words broke forth, all incoherent as they were. Their eloquence was little worse, but yet she listened, 'tis enough. Who listens once will listen twice. Her heart, be sure, is not of ice, and one refusal no rebuff. 7. I loved and was beloved again. They tell me, Tzar, you never knew those gentle frailties. If 'tis true, I shorten all my joy or pain. To you it would seem absurd as vain, but all men are not born to reign, or over their passions, or as you thus over themselves and nations too. I am, no rather was, a prince, a chief of thousands. I could lead them on where each would foremost bleed, but could not over myself evince the like control, but to resume. I loved and was beloved again. In sooth it is a happy doom, but yet our happiest ends in pain. We met in secret, and the hour which led me to the lady bower was fiery expectation dour. My days and nights were nothing all, except that hour which doth recall, in the long lapse from youth to age, no other like itself I would give, the Ukraine back again to live. It over once more and be a page, the happy page who was the Lord, of one soft heart and his own sword, and had no other gem nor wealth, save nature's gift of youth and health. We met in secret, doubly sweet. Some say they find it is so to meet. I know not that I would have given my love, but to have called her mine. In the full view of your earth and heaven, for I did oft and long repine, that we could only meet by stealth. 8. For lovers there are many eyes, and such there were on us the devil. On such occasions should be civil. The devil, I am lost to do him wrong. It might be some untoward saint who would not be at rest too long, but to his pious bile gave vent. But one fair night some lurking spies surprised and seized us both. The count was something more than worse. I was unarmed, but if in steel all cap up I from head to heel, what against their numbers could I do? That was near his castle, far away from city or from succor near, and almost on the break of day. I did not think to see another. My moments seemed reduced to few, and with one prayer to Mary Mother, and it may be a cent or two, as I resigned me to my fate, they led me to the castle gate. Teresa's dooms I never knew. Our lot was henceforth separate. An angry man, ye may opine, was he the proud Count Palatine, and he had reason good to be, but he was most enraged lest such an accident should chance to touch upon his future pedigree. Nor less amazed that such a blot his noble scutcheon should have got, while he was highest of his line, because unto himself he seemed the first of men, nor less he deemed in other eyes the most in mine. 'Tis death, with a page, perchance a king, had reconciled him to the thing, but with a stripling of a page I felt but cannot paint his rage. 9. Bring forth the horse. The horse was brought. In truth he was a noble steed, a Tartar of the Ukrainian breed, who looked as thought the speed of thought were in his limbs, but he was wild as the wild deer, as and untouched, with spur and bridle undefiled. 'Twas but a day he had been caught, and snorting with erected mane, and struggling fiercely but in vain, in the full foam of wrath and dread, to me the desert-born was led. They bound me on that manial throng, upon his back with many a tongue, then loosed him with a sudden lash, away, away, and on the dash, torrents less rapid and less rash. Away, away, my breath was gone, I saw not where he hurried on. 'Twas scarcely yet the break of day, and on he foamed away, away, the last of human sons which rose as I was darted from my foes. Was the wild about of savage laughter, which on the wind came roaring after. A moment from that rebel rout, with sudden wrath I wrenched my head, and snapped the cord which to the man had bound my neck in lieu of rein, and rising half of my form about, hauled back my curse, but my midst the tree, with thunder of my courser speed. Perchance they did not hear, not heed. It vexed me, for I would fain have paid their insult back again. I paid it well in after days. There is not of that castle gate. Its drawbridge and portcullis wait, stone bar, moat, bridge, or barrier left. Nor its fields a blade of grass, save what grows on a ridge of wall, where stood the hairstone of the hall. And many a time ye there might pass, nor dreamed that ever that fortress was. I saw its turrets in a blaze, their cracked battlements all cleft, and the hot sleet poured down like rain from off the scorched and blackening roof, whose sickness was not a vengeance proof. The little thought that day of pain, when launched as on the lightning flash, they bade me to destruction dash. That one day I should come again, with twice 5,000 horse, to thank the Count for his uncourteous right. They played me then a bitter prank, when with the wild horse for my guide, they bound me to his foaming flank. At length I played them one as frank, for time at least sets all things even, and if we do but watch the hour, there never yet was a human power which could await if unforgiven the patient search and vigil long of him who treasures up a wrong. 11. Away, away, my steed and I, upon the pinions of the wind, all human dwelling left behind, we sped like meteors through the sky. When with its crackling sound the night, its chequer with the northern light, town, village, none were on our track, but a wild plain of far extent, and bounded by forest black, and save the scarce seen battlement on distant heights of some stronghold, against the Tartars built of old. No trace of man. The year before, a Turkish army had marched over, and where the Spahi scoof and trot, the verdure flies the bloody sod. The sky was dull and grey, and the low breeze crept moaning by. I could have answered with a sigh. The patient search and vigil long of him who treasure up a wrong. Away, away, my steed and I, upon the pinions of the wind, all human dwelling left behind. We sped like meteors through the sky, when with its cracking sound the night, it checkered with the northern light, town, village, none were on our track, but a wild plain, a far extent, and bounded by a forest black, and save the scarce seen battlement on distant heights of some stronghold, against the Tartars built of old. No trace of man. The year before, a Turkish army had marched over, and where the Spahi's hoof had trod, the verdure flies the bloody sod. The sky was dull and dim and grey, and the low breeze crept moaning by. I could have answered with a sign. But fast we fled, away, away, and I could neither sigh nor pray, and my cold sweat drops fell like rain upon the coarser breathing man. But snorting still with rage and fear, he flew upon his far career. At times I almost thought, indeed, he must have slackened in his speed. But no, my bound and slender frame was nothing to his angry might, and merely like a spur became each motion which I made to free my swollen limbs from their agony. Increased his fury and affright. I tried my voice, it was faint and low, but yet he swerved as from a blow, and staring to each accent sprang, as from a sudden trumpet's clank. Meantime my cords were wet with gore, which oozing through my limbs ran over, and in my tongue the thirst became a something fierer far than flame. We neared the wildwood. It was so wide, I saw no bounds on either side. It was studded with old starred trees that bent not to the roughest breeze, which calls down from Siberia waste and strips the forest in its heights. But these were few and far between, set thick with shrubs more young and green, luxuriant with their annual leaves, ere strown by the autumnal eaves, that nip the forest foliage dead, discolored with a lifeless red, which stands thereon like stiffened gore upon the slain when battle o'er, and some long winter's night has shed its frost over every tombless head. So cold and stark the raven's beak may peck on pierced each frozen cheek. It was a wild waste of underwood, and here and there a chestnut stood, the strong oak and the hardy pine, but far apart, and well it were, or else a different lot were mine. The boughs gave way and did not tear my lips, and I found straight to bear my once already scarred with cold. My bonds forbade to lose my hold. We rustled through the leaves like wind, left acrops and trees and walls behind. By night I heard them on the track. Their troop came hard upon our back, with their long gallop which can tire the hound's deep hate and hunter's fire. Wherever we flew they followed on, nor left us with the morning sun. Behind us saw them scarce a road, a daybreak winding through the wood, and through the night had heard their feet, their stealing, rustling step repeat. Oh, how I wished for spear or sword, at least to die amid the horde, and perish, if it must be so, at bay, destroying many a foe. When first my corsair race began, I wished the goal already won, but now it doubt his strength and speed. Vain doubt his sweet and savage breed had nerved him like the mountain roll, nor faster falls the blinding snow, which whelms the peasant near the door, whose threshold he shall cross no more. Bewildered with the dazzling blast, then through the forest path he passed, untired, untamed, and worse than wild, all furious as a favored child, balked on its wish, or fiercer still, a woman piqued who has her will. The wood was past, it was more than noon, but chill the air, although in June. or it might be my veins run cold. Prolonged endurance tames the bold. And I was then not what I seemed, but headlong as a wintry stream, and wore my feelings out before I well could count their causes over. And what with fury, fear, and wrath, the tortures which beset my path, cold, hunger, sorrow, shame, distress, those bound in nature nakedness, sprung from a race whose rising blood, when stirred beyond its calmer mood, and trodden hard upon it is like the rattlesnakes in act to strike. What marvel is if this worn out trunk beneath its woods a moment sunk? The earth gave way, the skies rolled round. I seemed to sink upon the ground, but earth, for I was fastly bound. My heart turned sick, my brain grew sore, and throbbing a while, then beat no more. The sky spun like a mighty wheel. I saw the trees like drunkard thrill. And a slight flash sprang over my eyes, which saw no farther. He who dies can die no more than I did. Then I died, overthrown by that ghastly ride. I felt the blackness come and go, and strove to wake but could not make. My senses climbed up from below. I felt as on a plank at sea, when all the waves that dash over thee, at the same time upheave and whelm, and hurl thee towards the desert rim. My undulating life was as the fancied lights that fleeting pass our shut eyes in deep midnight, when fever begins upon the brain, but soon it passes with little pain. But a confusion worse than such I own that I should deem it much, dying to feel the same again, and yet I do suppose we must feel far more ere we turn to dust. No matter, I have buried my brow full in death's face before and now. 14. My thoughts came back. Where was I? Cold and numb and giddy. Pulse by pulse, life reassumed its lingering hold, and trop by trop, till ground a pang which for a moment would convulse my blood reflow through thick and chill. My ear with uncouth noises rang. My hair began were more to thrill. My sight returned through dim alas, and thickened as it were with glass. Methought the dash of waves was nigh. There was a gleam too of the sky, studded with stars. It is no dream. The wild horse swims the wilder stream. The bright broad river's gushing tide sweeps winding onward far and wide, and we are halfway struggling over to yon unknown and silent shore. The waters broke my hollow trance, and with a temporary strength my stiffened lips were rebaptized. My courser broad breast proudly braced, and dashes off the ascending waves. And onward we advance, we reach the slippery shore at length, a heaven I but little prized. For all behind was dark and drear, and all before was night and fear. How many hours of night or day in those suspended pangs I lay, I could not tell. I scarcely knew if this were human breath I drew. 15. With glossy skin and dripping mane, and reeling limbs and reeking flank, the wild steed's sinewy nerves still strain up the repelling bank. We gain the top, the boundless plain, spreads through the shadow of the night. And onward, onward, onward seems like precipice in our dreams, to stretch beyond the sight, and here and there a speck of white on scattered spot of dusky green, in masses broke into the light, as rose the moon upon my right, but not distinctly seen. In the dim waste would indicate the omen of a cottage gate. No twinkling taper from afar stood like a hospitable star. Not even an ignis fatuus rose to make him merry with my woes. That very cheat that had cheered me then, although detected welcome still reminding me through every ill of the abodes of man. 16. Onward we went, but slack and slow, his savage force at length overspent. The drooping courser faint and low, all feebly foaming went. A sickly infant had power to guide him forward in the tower, but useless all to me. His newborn tameness not availed, my limbs were bound, my force had failed. Perchance had they been free, with feeble effort still I tried to rend the bonds so starkly tied, but still it was in vain. My limbs were only wrung the more, and soon the idle strife gave over, which but prolonged their pain. The dizzy race seemed almost done, although no goal was nearly won. Some streaks announced the coming sun. How slow, alas, he came! Methought that mist of dawning grey would never dapple into day. How heavily it rolled away before the eastern flame rose crimson and deposited the stars, and called the radiance from their cars, and filled the earth from his deep throne with lonely luster all his own. 17. Up rose the sun, the mists were curled back from the solitary world which lay around behind before. What booted it to travel, it to traverse over, plain, forest, river, man nor brute, nor dint of hoof, nor print of foot, lay in the wild luxuriant soil, no sign of travel, none of toil. The very air was mute, and not an insect shrill small horn, nor matin bird's new voice was born. From hearth nor thicket many a verse, panting as if his heart would burst. The very brute still staggered on, and still we were unseen or seemed alone. At length, while reeling on our way, methought I heard a courser neigh. From our yon tuft of blackening firs, it is the wind those branches stirs. No, from out the forest prance a trampling troop, I see them come. In one vast quadrant they advance. I strove to cry, my lips were dumb. The steeds rush on in plunging pride, but where are they, the reins to guide? 1,000 horse and none to ride. This flowing tail and flying mane, white nostrils never stretched by pain, mouth bloodless to the beat of rain, and teeth that iron never shot,
and flanks uncarried by spur or rod. 1,000 horse, the wild, the free, like waves that follow over the sea, came thickly thundering on, as if our faint approach to me. The sight renerved my courser's feet. A moment staggering, feebly flip. A moment with a faint low neigh. He answered and then fell. With gasp and glazing eyes he lay, and reeking limbs immovable. His first and last career is done. On came the troops, they saw him stoop. They saw me strangely bound along, his back with many a bloody tongue. They stop, they start, they stuff the air, gallop a moment here and there, approach, retire, wheel round and round, then plunging back with sudden bound. Headed by one black mighty steed, who seemed the pattern of his breed, without a single speck of hair of white upon his shaggy hide. They snort, they foam, neigh, swerve aside, and backward to the forest fly, by instinct from a human eye. They left me there to my despair, linked to the death, to the dead and stiffening wretch, whose lifeless limbs beneath me stretch. Relieved from that unwonted weight, from whence I could not extricate, nor him nor me, and there we lay, the dying on the dead. I little deemed another day would see my houseless, helpless head. And there from morn till twilight bound, I felt the heavy heart toll round, with just enough of life to see my last of suns to go down on me. In hopeless certainty of mind that makes us feel at length resigned to that which our foreboding years present the worst and last of fears. Inevitable, even a boon, nor more unkind for coming soon, nor yet shunned and dreaded with such care, as if it only were a snare, that prudence might escape, at times both wished for and implored, at times sought with self-pointed sword. Yet still a dark and hideous close to even intolerable was, and welcome in no shape. And strange to say, the sons of pleasure, they who have revelled beyond measure in beauty, wassail, wine, and treasure, die calm or calmer oft than he, whose heritage was misery. For he who has in turn run through all that was beautiful and new, has enough to hope and enough to live, and save the future which it is viewed, not quite as men are base or good, but as their nerves may be endued. With enough perhaps to grieve, the wretch still hopes his vows must end, and death, whom he should deem his friend, appears to his distempered eyes, arrive to rob him to his price, the tree of his new paradise. Tomorrow would have given him all, repaid his pangs, repaired his fall. Tomorrow would have been the first of days no more deplored or cursed, but bright and long and beckoning years, seen dazzling through the midst of tears, guardian of many a painful hour. Tomorrow would have given him power to rule, to shine, to smite, to save, and must it down upon his grave. 18. The sun was sinking, still I lay, chained to the chill and stiffening steed. I thought to mingle there our clay, and my dim eyes of death had need. No hope arose of being freed. I cast my last looks up the sky, and there between me and the sun I saw the expectant raven fly, who scarce would wait till both should die ere his repast began. He flew and perched, then flew once more, and each time never nearer than before. I saw his wing through twilight fleet, and once so near me he alit. I could have smote, but lacked the strength. But the slight motion of my head and feeble scratching of the sand, the exerted throat's faint struggling noise, which scarcely could be called a voice, together scared him off a lunge. I know no more. My latest dream is something of a lovely star, which fixed my dull eyes from afar, and went and came with wandering beams, and of the cold dull swimming dance, sensation of recurring sense, and then subsiding back to death, and then again a little breath, a little thrill, a short suspense, an icy sickness curling over my heart, and sparks that crossed my brain, a gasp, a throb, a start of pain, a sight, and nothing more. I woke. Where was I? Do I see a human face look down on me, and does a roof above me close? Do these limbs on a couch repose? Is this a chamber where I lie, and is it mortal yon bright eye that watches me with gentle glance? I closed my own again once more, as doubtful that the former trance could not as yet be over. A slender girl, long-haired and tall, sat watching by the cottage wall. The sparkle of her eye I caught, even with my first return of thought. Forever and anon she threw a prying, pitying glance on me, with her black eye so wild and free. I gazed and gazed until I knew no vision it could be, but that I lived and was released from aiding to the vulture feast. And when the Cossack maid beheld my heavy eyes at length unsealed, she smiled, and I essayed to speak, but failed, and she approached and made with lips and fingers signs that said, I must not strive as yet to break the silence till my strength should be enough to leave my accents free. And then her hand on mine she laid, and smoothed the pillow for my head, and stole along on tiptoe tread, and gently opened the door and spake. In whispers never was voice so sweet, even music followed her light feet, but those she called were not awake, and she went forth. But ere she passed, another look on me she cast, another sign she made to say that I had enough to fear, that all were near at my command or call, and she would not delay her due return. While she was gone, methought I felt too much alone. She came with mother and with sire. What need of more? I will not tire with long recital of the rest, since I became the Cossack guest. They found me senseless on the plain. They bore me to the nearest hut. They brought me into life again, me one day over their realm to reign. Thus the vain fool who strove to glut his rage repining on my pain. Send me forth to the wilderness, bound, naked, bleeding, and alone, to pass the desert to a throne. What mortal his own doom may guess, let none despond, let none despair. Tomorrow the Boris fans may see our coursers gaze at ease upon his Turkish bank, and never had I such welcome for a river as I shall yield when safely there. Comrades, good night. The hetman threw his land beneath the oak tree shade. The sleepy coach already made, a bed nor comfortless nor new, to him who took his rest whenever the car arrived, no matter where. His eyes the hastening slumbers seek. And if ye marvel Charles forgot to send his tale, he wonder not. The king had been an hour asleep.